My name is Justin Nobel. I am a journalist and have spent the past 7 years reporting in oil and gas country in Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. One thing I have seen is that there is a lot more that comes to the surface in oil and gas production than just the oil and gas. There's an incredible amount of waste. I'm speaking about oil field brine. I'm speaking about sludge. I'm speaking about scale. Speaking about things like filter socks. And as I've learned in my reporting from the workers themselves, the oil and gas industry in Ohio has no idea how to deal with this waste stream. This is an incredible problem, and it has actually put lives in jeopardy, not just the lives of community members, but the lives of the very workers that the oil and gas industry claims this boom is all about. And I'm speaking from experience here. So there's sites, for example, one site right along the Ohio River where workers are told that they're just moving around piles of dirt, that there's no risks. They are not wearing appropriate PPE, so they often end up with this sludgy, wet dirt smothered all over their faces, their clothes. These clothes are going to be washed in many instances with their families' clothes in their home washing machine. The problem is that this is not just sludge, this is not just dirt. Oil and gas production generates an extraordinary amount of oil field brine. That sounds like an innocent name, but brine is often loaded with toxic levels of salt, heavy metals like lead, cadmium, arsenic, and the radioactive metal radium. When the oil and gas industry wants to get rid of this brine, often what they do is send it to an injection well. Many problems there, as documented by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and other institutions and academic researchers. But right now, we'll focus on the other way the industry tries to get rid of brine, which is they try to, quote, treat it. Which means they'll remove the sludges, the solids out of the brine. They'll take it to a place often called an oil field waste treatment center, where workers are going to be moving this sludge around in piles in an attempt, and this is the actual job here, in an attempt to lower the radioactive signature low enough so that the waste can go to a traditional local landfill rather than be shipped out west, which is where the legitimate low-level radioactive waste disposal sites are. So just think of what's happening here. This is a process called downblending. In the nuclear industry, this would be absolutely illegal. You cannot just take radioactive waste, mix it around with like lime and crushed up corn cobs, which is actually what they're using in Ohio, and try and lower the radioactivity enough so that you can dispose of it more easily, more cheaply, the key word for this industry. But this is happening regularly every single day in Ohio, and workers are getting exposed every single day in Ohio. So the problem I see with now enabling the fracking industry to expand to the fringes of the state parks and under and into the state parks themselves is that you now bring the problem of this waste stream to an area that has been set aside by people who have fought hard. I mean, every time I go to a park, I think someone fought to preserve this land, to make it so families can come and spend time in nature, so people alone can come and ponder and just get a moment away from society, so people can view nature, sometimes fish or hunt, boat, do things that they can't do in the rest of the world we've created. This is what happens in a park. And you have now enabled this industry, which we know is generating this massive uncontrollable waste stream, to come up right against that. So will there be problems? Of course there will be problems. The industry has not been able to solve the waste problem, even in the best of circumstances. And we now have a really cherished environment that is going to be put at risk. What will happen is there will be spills. There are constantly spills in this industry. This is documented by state inspection reports, and it's documented in the workers I've spoken to. And often, industry will try and get rid of waste by dumping it into the nearest place possible. So into a local creek, into a local stream. This might seem outrageous for someone who hasn't spent a lot of time in the industry actually speaking with workers. But you know what I really would suggest you do is when you talk to the oil and gas industry, don't just talk to the executives at the top. It's really odd to me that people who are there to protect the residents, the citizens of the state, go to the voices at the top, the money voices. When I, as a journalist, go in, I talked to the people much lower down the ladder because they tell the true story. So don't just talk to the people with the money bags, talk to the workers and talk to the former workers, the ones who left the industry because they couldn't deal with it anymore, because they didn't like getting covered with sludge that they later learned was radioactive. They didn't like their bosses telling them to dump things in creeks because they care about those creeks. These things are happening in Ohio, and these workers do exist. I can help lead you to some of them and talk to those people and really learn the picture of what is going on with the unconventional oil and gas industry in Ohio. There's problems already, and we are working hard to lay out those problems, expose them, and lead people to better solutions. But bringing fracking into the state parks, to the fringes of the state parks, will really exacerbate those problems even more and really put a cherished area that was set aside for exactly the opposite reason of fracking. Do your fracking, do your industry elsewhere, but this is a place of peace and environmental enjoyment, and to tarnish that for this short-term gain uh, is really absurd. So, and please, reach out. I'm easily contactable, and I would be happy to share with you some of my contacts and some of the information I've learned on this issue. Thank you all so much.